What's it like becoming a fighter?
Looking back at it after like going through the Ukrainian military, like I think back to it like I was like incredibly stupid. However, at the time, it was a lot of on the job training. There was also like a lot of other Westerners who were like ex-military, so you took a lot of advice from them, and like they helped you understand like what you need to know and like what you need to do. So yeah, it was a lot of on the job training.
And were you scared? I mean, let's go to Mariupol now. It's the Russians are pouring everything at it. Were you scared? Did you think this could be it for me?
By this point, like it's like I've been in the military there for 4 years, and I'd been on multiple deployments to this region, so I knew it very well. And I knew that the day that Russia invades, if we're on the front line there, that we will probably be suffering like the worst like repercussions from the beginning stage of the invasion, just because of our location. So I knew it wouldn't be good for us, because not only did we have to worry about the Russians that were in the front line in front of us, we also had to worry about the Russians that were coming from Crimea. And I knew that if we fell back to Mariupol, we would eventually be encircled. However, in hindsight, when I look back to it, despite that we were encircled and everything that we went to, it played a really important part in like helping the rest of Ukraine prepare defenses, because we took so much resources from the Russians and the long show of it.
Did you think you were going to die there in Mariupol?
There was a lot of moments I thought like this is going to be it. It was pretty like heavy, like, but at the same time, like I was preparing myself for the eventual like reality that we're either going to be killed or we're either going to have to surrender, because at that point, like at the end of March, like Russian territory, like between us and friendly lines, was about probably 142 kilometers away. So from my experience from Syria, like seeing like ISIS fighters, like when we encircled them and they tried to break out, like it was a very slim chance that would actually be successful.
So tell us about being captured. What was that like? What was the first thing that happened to you when you were captured?
So initially when we got the command to like go to the surrender point, we went unit by unit, and we were met by the Russian OMON, which is the interior police for Russia. Initially, it was okay, like just at that moment, and then we were loaded onto a bus and then handed over to the Russian proxies. And that's when the violence and the intimidation and everything started. I gave them my passport, and they immediately recognized that it was not a Ukrainian passport, and then he asked me like in Russian, like, where are you from? And then I replied back in Russian, from Great Britain, and as soon as I said that, he punched me on the nose and beat me.
And what happened then? Were you then singled out?
Yeah, so a day later, like the intelligence came to like speak to me, like to work out exactly who I am, and they singled me out of a warehouse. There was about 600 Ukrainian like soldiers in this warehouse. And they singled me out and put me in a car. Just as I got in the car, they told me like I'm going to be taken to be shot. And then after like 2 hours,
how do you feel that? Stop there, because that's extraordinary. You've been beaten up. You're singled out. You're in Russia. You're basically in Russia. No one can stop what happens in Russia. No British official's going to help you. No government's going to help you. No military's going to help you. And they tell you you're going to be shot. What do you feel?
At that moment, I pretended I didn't understand what he said and just remained quiet. And I just started processing in my mind, like thinking about my family, like this is how it is basically. This is how I die. And then I started to realize, like an hour into the drive, like I'm obviously not being shot, because like why would you drive like 2 hours away to shoot me? So I figured at that moment I'm being taken somewhere else to be interrogated. So after that realization like passed, I started preparing myself mentally for what I think and know is coming next. And basically, I was just trying to build a brick wall in my head, like to prepare for the next stage of captivity. And it was like an hour later, we arrived in the Ukrainian city, which is currently occupied at the moment, of Donetsk. And as soon as I got out of the car there, I was met by a guy in like blue uniform. And he said something to me. I couldn't understand what he was saying. He was either drunk or his accent was incredibly thick. And I asked him to repeat like politely in Russian. And as soon as I said that, he hit me with the police truncheon like multiple times. And I fell to the floor, and then he continued to beat me. And then he dragged me into the building, and then I was like beaten continuously for like 2 hours. And at one point, he showed me that he'd stabbed me, which I didn't feel at the time.
How did you not feel it? What happens when someone's beating you and you can't do anything about it? So you're completely powerless there, aren't you?
Yeah.
Do you feel the pain? Do you get used to the pain? What is it like?
It's weird because I remember like building myself up to it. I was like, this is going to hurt. But when I think back to it, like I didn't cry. I remember I was screaming, like just like asking him to stop. But like it's weird, like because of the adrenaline you've got going through you, it kind of like takes away some of the pain. I think in like hindsight, I felt more tired just because of like the like level of like beatings I was taking, especially on the head. And then also like I think the adrenaline covered me like not feeling the stab wound, because at the time he was like continuing like to like beat me with a police baton. But I remember when he showed me that he stabbed me. That's like the
Where
moment.
did he stab you? Where was that?
On the left shoulder. And I remember when he showed me that I was stabbed. That's like the moment that I literally like realized like if I don't do something, like I'm probably not going to survive the next beating, because I could feel myself like slowly like losing my like grip again. Like I could feel like I was going to pass out again. And by this point, like I was, I had concussion on my head, and like I honestly believe that if they continue to beat me, I'm probably going to be beaten to death. So at one point there was another like Russian that was like lingering in the background, and he came in, he spoke a bit of like English, and he just was like, "Do you want to speak now?" And that's when I agreed, okay, I'll speak. Because like for the majority of the time in that like initial phase, like I just kept like repeating like the same stuff, like I'm a Ukrainian Marine, like what's my rank? I'm a private. I'm in mortars.
What do they want to know? What did you tell them in the end?
So when I was being beaten, it was just like the standard basic stuff, like that you'd normally expect in an interrogation. But once that finished, I was taken into a separate room with this Russian who was like playing nice guy, and that's when he started asking all these like weird questions. He said to me like, are you SAS? And I said, like, dude, like, look at me. Do I look like I'm SAS? And then he was like asking do you work for like MI6? And I was like, dude, I'm in mortars. I'm a private in the Ukrainian military. Do you think I have like the intelligence to be an MI6 operative?
And did he believe that?
I mean, I hope so.
And did that get you out of it? Because did you know anything? I mean, did you know anything they could want?
Not really. I knew we would be used for propaganda. I made a phone call to my friend when we used the Starlink just before surrender. I said to him like they're going to use us for like propaganda. And they basically just wanted to know about like how we came to Ukraine, like, and I told them, like I said, I came to Ukraine in 2018. I enlisted with the Ukrainian military, like through the military recruitment center, went to training, and then I took the oath to Ukraine. And I remember that it was the next day or a few days later, they came back with the investigator, and he showed the witness, well, the statement that I gave. But they like meddled it around, and like everything was like mercenary this, or conspiracy or stuff.
And what did you do?
That.
Did you have to accept that?
Pretty much. I remember when the second investigator came, he did another statement, and I remember he was like showing his high vis that said like Russian Investigative Committee, but he looked like he was like some average Joe that was just picked up a high vis and pretending to be who he said he was. And as we were doing that statement, I remember he like gestured to me like as I'm speaking, like if you don't continue speaking like what I want to hear, like it's going to end badly for you.
And just finally, you're going to go back to Ukraine?
Yeah, looking at going back next month with my fiance. I was back in Ukraine in middle of May because I had to go back to our house, which is completely like ruined now after a nearby missile hit the neighbour's house. And
you're not going to fight anymore?
No, unfortunately not. Due to it's funny to like say it, but like even though I didn't have all the protections of the Geneva Convention last time, like the Geneva Convention like states like if you're a prisoner of war and you're exchanged, like you can't go back to like combat, because if you do, you won't have those protections. But
you were tortured anyway, which they shouldn't.
Which is the hypocrite. Like it's just like the contradiction of it, because like, but at the end of the day, like with us being foreigners and the high profile that they gave us, like it would mean that they would want to like take advantage of that and abuse it.